All right, class, stop typing, please. Before we go on with the next exercise, I'd like to make one of my little speeches. This is your first course in preparing for an office job. You're starting a new career. It can be fun, or it can be hard. It all depends on the way you look at things, your attitude.
Jasmine Cockett, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. You're a state representative, and now you are running for Congress. Why is that, and what are your priorities?
Absolutely. First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. You know, no one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress. It's not what my plan was. But what I've always decided is that I would step up when there was a need. Called me and said, I think it's time for me to retire, and you're the one that I believe should take my seat. I really was kind of caught off guard. I didn't anticipate that.
Don't forget, the golden rule works there, just as it does anywhere else.
So she's going to keep saying trans, so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all to tell me whether or not call me a child. I am no child.
He said, Jasmine, what you have to realize is that if you are really going to make change, it's not going to be in the Texas House. He said, you did a great job playing defense, but you have a chance to play offense. At least you know on the federal level that the management, so to speak, changes. It's not just always one party that has everything. And he said, if you really want to make real change, you really need to consider it. And I thought about that, along with all the other people that said, if the congresswoman retires, you're the person that's been the face of voting rights in Texas. You're the person that said, we've got to take this fight to D.C.
Much later.
We've heard a lot about the fact that Democrats have been talking about Elon Musk. And let me give you a news alert. We're not going to stop talking about him. We're going to keep talking about him until he is out of here. Now, if he wants to be elected or appointed and confirmed to something, then so be it. But as of right now, we have somebody that, for whatever reason, I don't know if y'all just trying to play in our face because you think we're stupid, or if you literally just cannot see the difference in a George Soros and a Bill Gates. But let me give you a little bit of the difference. Number one, George Soros nor Bill Gates ever somehow decided to turn off the spigot of money that was going through to various organizations and agencies to the extent that it had actually been ordered by law that they should have access to it, to the extent that people are dying. There are people that have died as a result of this antic.
You have been the voice of opposition on those things, and you understand legislation. This is what you've got to do. And so as far as I'm concerned, I tell people all the time that it was a calling, literally and figuratively, for me to run for Congressional District 30 and to take my service to the next.
Much later.
Trying to pass, no. I should probably be a better politician and tell you, yes, we've got all this amazing legislation that I can absolutely imagine Donald Trump signing into law, and I'm just not gonna lie.
Have 8 other challengers in the Democratic primary.
Absolutely.
So how do you convince voters in your district, that you are the best candidate for the job?
Absolutely. What most people don't understand is that her endorsement kept probably some of the most formidable people from getting in. There were other sitting elected officials that were seriously considering it. And I think that her endorsement may have moved them to a different place. And so that's what that endorsement did. But when I talk to people, I tell them that I'm running on my record.
Treat others as you want to be treated. Here's how it applies to an office. First, of course, know your job.
Much later.
Now, I can tell you that unfortunately, I am not working towards very much that I would consider being the progress train. I am working to make sure that I can minimize the regress train right now. And I think, and I hope that my district appreciates that I am being honest with them in the fact that I've not seen anything that aligns with who we are in Texas 30.
Also enjoy the people that you're working with.
$2 trillion, and here's why. We're going to incentivize everyday Americans, whether they're in East Palestine or in East Baltimore, to step up and say, there's waste, there's fraud, there's abuse in my community. Report it to DOJ. Why? Because the more money the DOJ saves, the bigger the DOJ dividend check is. Chris, look at how successful DOJ has been under Trump's leadership, with just Elon Musk and a dozen engineers eating Chick-fil-A and drinking Red Bull, sleeping in the office. Now imagine deputizing 100 million Americans to be the eyes and ears on the ground. When I was growing up, I took my grandfather, a World War II vet, to the VA for his checkups. And I got to tell you, I saw waste, I saw fraud, I saw abuse. I didn't have DOJ to report it to, and I didn't have an incentive to report it. That's not the case with the DOJ dividend. Every American can step up, report fraud and abuse to DOJ directly via X, and we'll see the savings go up, hit $2 trillion, and we'll see the checks dispersed next summer. And absolutely, President Trump's name and signature should be on it, because this would not have been possible without his leadership.
Now, as expected, y'all, we're going to have some dum-dums. We're going to have some idiots. Sometimes they manifest in the form of elected officials.
Because the Republicans refuse to ensure that their constituents earn a livable wage. Look, they don't have a plan to fix immigration in America because they don't want to. Mass deportation isn't a plan. Arresting kids in schools or worshipers in church isn't a plan. But there are important points to discuss as it relates to immigration in America. So, Mr. Beer.
You got these people who are part of the squad. You got these people who think they are advocates because they can step out here with a little law degree. Oh, I got one. I know what it is. And they think they are advocates for the community. They think they are spokesmouths for all the blackity blacks. Well, they are beholden. They are wedded to that Democrat plantation that ain't done nothing for the blackity blacks in generations. So why would you listen to them? Here you have Jasmine Crockett, who comes out here bumping her gums, the most ghetto presentation that we've seen in Congress in my lifetime, dare I say. I ain't never seen somebody come out here in the Congress and talk like this. If you want to be off in the hood, then you go off in the hood and you talk your talk. But if you are going to be in Congress, I need you to do the whole code switch. Understand who you are among. Understand who you are elected to be and go be that. Don't be one of those stories where they say, oh, you can take the girl out the hood but can't take the hood out the girl. No, you are an elected official in the United States Congress. And I need you to be better than this.
Now, President Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from DOJ back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID that was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us, because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times. This was a time in which hopefully we won't ever go through again. We had a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. The bad part is that I don't know if it's once in a lifetime, because we know that Ebola, unfortunately, was detected right here in New York here recently. And if we continue down this road of getting rid of scientists or deciding that we don't want to rely on experts as it relates to what they're telling us to do, or we don't want to deal with vaccines and medicine in this country, then we may be facing not only our next pandemic, but our next 2, 3, or 4 pandemics because of their incompetence. So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
Yo, you're looking at some people who are so beholden to that Democrat plantation that when stimulus is given out by the Democrats, it's good. But when stimulus is given out by Donald Trump, it's bad.
Be considerate of them. And be...
Flashback.
So let me ask you, if you are to be elected, how would you align yourself in Congress? Because, you know, we see there's a progressive wing in the House Democrats, and there's also more moderate Democrats. Do you see yourself aligning with any of them in particular?
So yes, that's interesting that you say that. The Congresswoman is a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and has been for a very long time. I fully anticipated that I would become a member of that caucus. What people don't understand is that saying you're a progressive in Texas doesn't necessarily look the same as being a progressive in other states.
And a flashback.
But, like, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right? Like, there is no niceties with him, like, at all. Like, you go clean off on him, right? And I think that there are even, you know, people believe that, I don't know what people believe, but I can tell you the truth is that I get emails from independents, Republicans, and Democrats. I get Republicans that call the office. I get people that say, listen, we don't necessarily agree with you on everything, but we support you, right? And that's what it takes. It takes people feeling as if they're connected to the candidate. And if you're going to say things like, for instance, that Abbott is pulling a voucher scam and that he's going to basically shutter our public schools, also that basically the privileged few can have access to education while everybody else just falls by the wayside, that's not a simple thing. So when you're sitting up in a debate with Greg Abbott, it's okay to be indignant.
And so, you know, thinking through all of that, understanding that, you know, as a 40-year-old woman who's never married and doesn't have children, I may be sacrificing all of that because I don't believe in signing up for a job and not giving it my all.
By sheer coincidence.
I mean, and it is just, it's really upsetting to see this, but unfortunately I think that we continue to promulgate all of this ideology because we celebrate these viral moments, and that is the culture we're in right now.
But that's the embodiment of the Democrat Party. I mean, they have nothing to offer besides the barking, besides the yapping, which is why she's doing this, and she also has nothing else to offer. And she's just a phony. I mean, this is all fake. She's basically an actress. If you watch videos of her before she entered into Congress, she was a totally different person. She was eloquent. She was measured. She was normal.
She went to private school.
Tens of thousands of dollars for her high school. She went to Rhodes College. She's a product of, you know, very expensive school. So it's an act. She's a phony.
And be considerate of your employer. Remember those simple rules of office etiquette, and you'll get along in the business world. Now then, let's do skill building practice 8. Same margin. Begin typing when ready.